Rob Dube is the co-founder of Image One. He is an author. He is a speaker. He is the visionary of the 10 disciplines for managing and maximizing your energy. Welcome to the show, Rob.
George, thanks for having me. I'm so grateful to be with you today. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm excited to have you on. Tell us a little bit about your personal lives, more about your work, and what motivated you to put pen to paper for the book.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for asking about my personal life. I'm married 33 years. I have two kids. I live in Michigan. They live in New York City. It breaks my heart that they left us. And hopefully one day they'll come back to the nest, but they're happy, and that's all that matters, I think.
For sure.
But yes, thank you for asking. On the business front, thank you for sharing a little bit about my bio there. And yes, I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 14. I started selling blow pop lollipops out of my locker with my best friend, buy them for a nickel, sell them for a quarter, great margins, easy business. We loved it. So that entrepreneurial bug bit us early. We had all sorts of businesses through high school and college. And we started our first business that you mentioned, Image One, in 1991, right out of college, out of our basement. And we grew the company, sold it once, bought it back in the middle there. And the two of us still own it today, but we don't run it. We have a CEO who runs it. We sit in on the board of directors and in an owner's box, as you might refer to it as. And somebody much more capable than us is taking it to hopefully new heights. And so I spend my time as visionary of the 10 disciplines, which is a coaching program that helps driven entrepreneurs and leaders free their true selves. And so we could talk a little bit about that as we go along here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So
Yeah.
you are the beneficiary of some really, really long quality relationships.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for asking. Way back in maybe a little over 20 years ago, when my business partner and I were running Image One, tripping over ourselves, we had the great fortune to meet a guy named Gino Wickman, very well known for EOS, also known for the book Traction. At that time, he was just starting this business where he was going to help entrepreneurs gain control of their businesses. And although I was skeptical, we brought him in, and he really, really helped us gain control, as he says he would do. And along the way, the two of us struck up a very deep friendship. We would meet, every year, many times a year at Starbucks and just talk about life, not about business. And fast forward over 20 years later, the two of us teamed up and wrote a book together called Shine. And we're bringing this message of doing inner work for leaders and entrepreneurs to the world.
I love it. And when I mentioned you were the beneficiary of great relationships, I was really referring to your wife, 33
Ah,
years, and then your founding partner. But turns out there's three, probably
thank
even
you
more.
for that. And those two are true as well.
So there's got to be something there, right?
Yeah,
Because we have
yeah,
a hard time figuring ourselves out, but you're evidence that to have I have to imagine that when
yeah.
you got to the point, you're like, oh, you know what? I think I've got a lot to offer talking about this inner work, that you probably perhaps do that innately because you have these great relationships, or maybe you're
Mm.
extremely thoughtful and mindful.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, so, just to circle back to the relationships, and I love that you brought that up, and I appreciate it. My best friend Joel Perlman and I, we're brothers by another mother. I'm sure many out there are listening can relate. You might have one of those on your of your own. But when we started our business together, the first thing that we decided was going to be most important for us was that we would always be open, honest, and vulnerable. And how we even thought of that when we were
Hmm.
21, I have no idea. But business would always come second. We wanted to make sure that we supported each other in our life's journey. And so, if the business had to slow down or we needed to have more income coming out of it for different reasons, we were always going to support each other first. And that was really helpful. I had experienced a great deal of trauma and abuse growing up. And so as I was into my early 20s, I was really struggling, and my wife was just a rock for me. But I knew I just wasn't a great business partner or a great husband, and I wanted to be better. Intuitively, I knew something was not right. And so, once you know it, I went to Joel and I said, God, I need help. I don't know what to do. And he just said, Hey, have you ever thought of talking to a therapist? Now, that was, 30 years ago. And back then, it wasn't quite as common as it is today. Thank goodness it's common today. But, that was kind of the first step that I took into understanding who I was and what was going on inside of me to help really release a lot of the blocks that I had from many of the circumstances growing up.
I really resonate with everything you just said. And it is impressive and mildly surprising that early 20-year-old people were talking about being open and honest and
Yes.
vulnerable. But credit you for that and your business partner for that. And to recognize that you've had trauma in your life, which I think the vast majority of us have.
Mhm.
Do you think that the key there was that you wanted to be better?
I think it certainly helped, but what's interesting is I was in pain and it hurt, and I was depressed. I had OCD. I was always anxious about everything. And that's just a very challenging life to live. And, I didn't want to go too dark, and I was very concerned about it. And of course, that manifests into my relationships with the people closest to me. And I just somehow knew I could be better, and I needed to somehow find some light in there. And I think that was a big driver for me, was just to kind of get out of that pain.
Was it with the 10 disciplines, helping people to find their true self?
Yeah.
For lack of a better term, were you worried that this is going to be too squishy or too soft for entrepreneurs?
Yes. Well, I shouldn't say I was worried. I know it's going to be actually. Yeah. Yeah. And Gino and I, even in writing the book, we said, this isn't going to be for everybody. But, sometimes, much like Gino was when he created EOS and wrote the book Traction, sometimes people are a little ahead of the game. And I truly believe that we are here. And the response to the book and the work that we're doing has been tremendous. That said, in talks that we give, sometimes there's a good percentage of people in the room that it just doesn't resonate with right now, and that's okay. Like, everybody's on their journey, and some people will feel connected to this and really they desire inner peace at a different level, and I think that's the people that are going to be drawn to the work we're doing.
Yeah, I respect and appreciate that.
Yeah.
You talk about this is a lot of this is designed for folks that are really driven. Can you tell me a
Yeah.
little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So, if you are an entrepreneur, a sole practitioner, if you're a leader of a company or leading a team, or that sort of thing, you're driven. And that means you are in a small category in this world. There's over 8 billion people, human beings on this earth, and they're not all driven. I mean, look around you. You can tell that most people aren't driven, actually. So it's important to recognize that. And the next thing that's important to recognize is that it's a blessing and it's a curse.
Hmm.
And, for those that are driven, there's sort of a badge of honor that can go along with that. A lot of people look at really successful people and they're impressed. And that is sometimes one of the things that drives us for whatever reason. We want recognition. Maybe we didn't get that at a certain point in our life and now we want it. And we see that when we work hard and good things happen, we get that recognition. Sometimes we think we're going after financial freedom or things or experiences and things of that nature, but we all know that at the end of the day, that those things don't make us happy. So, how can we manage this driven nature that we have? Well, we have to understand the part of it that's the actual curse, because we have this superhuman stamina, this resilience, this strength that most people don't have. We have the ability to continually get knocked down and pop right back up like nothing happened. And what that does is it can damage not only ourselves, but the people around us. It can lead us to burnout, and it can lead us to burn out the people around us because we're just going so fast and they don't understand it. I can't tell you how many driven people I've been around whose significant others or, really important people to them in their lives ask them, like, when are you going to slow down? And they don't have an answer to that. Like, never. What do you mean? I'm not even going fast. I don't
Mhm.
understand. I like to equate it to running in a race. So if you're running and you're ahead of people and you're looking back and they're back there huffing and puffing, and for you it's not that challenging, you're saying, come on, hurry up, catch up. And they're back there saying, slow down. I don't want to catch up. I need you to slow down. So that's the curse. And so it's important that we don't wreak havoc on the people around us, but still use our driven to make a huge impact in the world. And so that's what we teach in our book and in our courses, is how to go about doing that.
So how do you do
Well, there's many
it?
ways. So it all starts with a strong foundation or framework in your life. And that's what the 10 disciplines teach. These are 10 things, ways that you will live your life that will bring you absolute clarity on the decisions that you make in your life. They will provide you with something that you give up freely, which is your greatest asset, called time. We spend more time focusing on our bank balances and managing that than we do managing the one thing that we have great control over, but give up very easily, which is that time. And when you get your time back, you have to use it really wisely. It allows you to be fully present with the people around you. It provides you with a clearer mind to recognize the types of decisions that you're making, the feelings that you have, the emotions that are going on inside of you, and the thoughts that are swirling around. And when you have awareness of those, you're able to um, work on what's happening there and make changes in your life, show up in that moment between stimulus and response, which for us is a millisecond, and show up as a better human being, a better leader, a better spouse, a better, husband, a better father or mother, a better person in your community. That's really what it's all about. And when you're able to do that from a business standpoint, you're going to be more successful because you're just so clear about how you're using your time. You do the things that matter most, the things that you know are going to make the most impact, and you stop allowing your boundaries to blur, which happens all the time with all of us. We say yes to everything, and it sucks our time and drains our energy. And so we have to get really good. And that's what the 10 disciplines do. They help you understand yourself better, get really clear, and then create those strong boundaries and not let them blur.
I love it. I have this image in my mind of Luke Skywalker going to visit Yoda wherever that was, and it's the
Good one.
hero's journey of you've got this immense power, but if we don't harness it and control it, then it can destroy everything.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right on to it, George. I love it.
And I bet talking about you wanted to be better, and that was a motivator, a driver, and you were in pain. How do I know if this is something how do I know? Because if my resting, it could just be that I am in pain and I don't even realize it.
Yeah. We have an assessment once you know it. You can go to the 10disciplines.com, and right on the page, you'll see take the assessment. And there's 20 questions. It'll take you 3 to 5 minutes, and it'll give you a sense of where you're at with the framework in your life that creates the time and the calmness or space in your mind, and then how close you are to freeing your true self. And once you have that assessment, you can start paying attention to the different questions where you answered on the lower side, and you can shine light on those areas of your life to work to improve them. And we encourage people to take the assessment every 90 days because it's unlikely you'll ever be at 100. That means you're enlightened.
Hmm.
And most of us are not going to ever be enlightened, and that's okay. And life ebbs and flows. So what's great is just having a resource or a tool in our toolbox where we can see, oh wow, I'm off track with that. Let me refocus over there, shine that light, get back on track, and that creates inner peace.
I think it's such an important thing to be revisiting every 90 days and to be checking in. Oh, look at that. I am a little bit closer because I have to, well, just for me personally, I've heard the phrase, "Oh, I'm a human being, not a human doing." I'm like, "No, I'm a human doing and I'm trying to become more of a human being."
Nice.
So it's like a function of I'm gonna do this, but how long is it gonna take? Because I'm gonna get
I
to this
love it.
enlightenment thing pretty fast because that's how I do things.
I love it. I love it.
What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, what are my thoughts on that? Well, we are doing a lot. So I think you're on to something there. There's no question. I always like to say, I always like to ask this question is, what's that all about?
Hmm.
Why are we always doing? What is it within us? And as we start to peel back the layers and take off the suit of armor that is keeping us weighed down from becoming our true self, from freeing our true self, the answers start to come. And then we do less, but it doesn't mean we're not productive. I think this is where it starts to scare people. They start to think they're going to lose that edge that got them to be so successful. And in fact, you don't need an edge to be successful. You don't need a chip on your shoulder. Actually, you will be so much more successful with that clear mind when you take off that suit of armor. And again, using the running analogy, if you imagine running in a suit of armor or running in shorts and a t-shirt, what how are you going to finish? How much quicker are you going to finish the race with shorts and a t-shirt? Much quicker. And so that lightness that we all have within us can come out, and allow us to just be, but also be and make impact. And maybe doing is something we reframe in our life.
That's really well said. Appreciate that. So that certainly sounds like a lot to gain right there. The things that I can have. I can feel better. I can have that peace of mind, contentment, whatever the term is that I'm interested in
Yeah.
finding, better relationships, happier, feeling better. Um, what kind of pushback do you get if any from engaging in this work?
um, I think the main thing that people struggle with is change. It's scary. And so when you start looking inside, it starts shining big spotlights on areas of your life that you've been ignoring, sometimes for decades. It could be traumas. It could be, things, challenges that you dealt with in your life. Could be relationships that you're dealing with at this moment that you just don't want to deal with. It's
Hmm.
too scary. It's going to shake up your world. And so for many, they're just not ready. And, my message to them is, you know, pay attention. And when you're ready, do the work. And because at some point, it's got to be done. It all comes to the surface at some point.
Yeah, that's a great point. We can only hold down and bottle up trauma for so long before it does come out. And
That's right.
either we can take it out a little bit at a time or it can just explode.
That's right. And always remember, if you move the needle 10%, That is huge growth, huge. So you don't need to go 100%. 10% is major movement in your life. And so just know, like, this does not need to be an overwhelming thing. Start where you are and move it 2%, 4%, 6, 8, 10. Take a breather if you need to. You don't have to go all in and conquer the world and conquer yourself. Just know that we're here to grow. We're here to learn. And part of that is learning about ourselves. And it's really a beautiful journey if you're willing to take it.
Love it. Well, Rob, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for the work that you're doing. How can people enter into your universe? How can they give us the website for the assessment, or how do you think the best way to approach this work is?
Always the best to go to the 10disciplines.com. Everything that you need is there. The assessment, information about our programs, our book, all that kind of stuff. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that. And I'm very grateful to you, George, for having me on today. It was a wonderful conversation. You're a very thoughtful person.
Well, thank you. And certainly likewise. If you enjoyed this as much as I did, show Rob your appreciation. Share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas, and certainly share it with all the driven people in your life. Go to the10disciplines.com and take that assessment. Find out where you are at. And I think that if you are like me, who is certainly a driven person, there's always opportunities to make that incremental progress, which is what it is all about. So again, the10disciplines.com, check out the assessment. Check out everything else. He's got a wonderful coaching program. And certainly, if you follow the show, you're familiar with Gino Wickman and the great work that they're doing over there. So just a great opportunity. Thanks again, Rob.
Thank you, George.
Until next time, remember, do your part by doing your best.